Well, welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us today. In the next half hour or so, we'll talk about a challenge that comes up constantly with our content teams, which is how do you grow your publishing output without growing your team to match? We'll frame the problem, we'll show you what we built to address it, and then take you inside the platform for a live demo. We'll close with some Q&A on some questions that we hear most often from our customers and prospects. Before we dive in, I wanted to give a quick word on who you're hearing from today. My name is Greg Chaput, and I'm Director of Learning Design Innovation at Gutenberg Technology. And my job here sits very much at the intersection of learning science and how content gets built at scale. I'm joined today by Gaetan Richard, who is a product owner at GT, who has spent 15 years working with educational publishing, customer success, and product. So I think between the two of us, we'll cover both the why and the how of our solution. So let's start with something we hear from our content leaders constantly in almost exactly these words. I need to produce more with a smaller team. The pressure is real, faster timelines, higher quality expectations, fewer resources to get there. And yet, the way most content teams work hasn't fundamentally changed. It's still project by project, course by course, rebuilding the same structures from scratch every single time. And what that looks like in practice, authors stare at blank pages with no real structural guidance. They make decisions about layout and format and structure that shouldn't be their decisions to make. The result is content that varies in quality depending on who built it, not on what it's teaching. And at a portfolio level, if you're managing dozens or hundreds of courses, that inconsistency compounds into a real operational problem. Review cycles get longer and operation or oversight requirements go up. So what's the alternative? Instead of every author making structural decisions from scratch on every project, your content lead designs those structures once, and then every author on every project works from the same approved building blocks going forward. This shift has three immediate effects. Production gets faster because authors aren't reinventing the wheel. Quality gets more consistent because that structure is built into the authoring experience. It's not dependent on individual judgment. And you get scalability that doesn't require adding headcount every time you add a product. We call this build once, scale everywhere. Before we go into the demo, I'll try and paint a quick picture about what this looks like operationally. So a content lead, with support from GT if needed, will set up block templates in advance. Each block template packages structure, style, and pedagogical purpose together in one pre-configured component. Once those templates exist, authors don't build from a blank page. They open a palette of approved blocks. They drag and drop and populate content within structures that have already been designed and approved. So there are a few things worth flagging here. First, control sits with editors and learning designers, not platform admins. The people who understand the content and the pedagogy are the ones who are defining the authoring experience. Second, guidance can be embedded directly into blocks. So new authors get orientation built right into the workflow, which cuts onboarding time. And third, when you update a template, that change propagates across every project using it. You fix it once, and it gets fixed everywhere. So with that picture in mind, I'll hand it over to Gaetan, who will show you what this looks like live.
Thank you, Greg. So for this introduction, let's dive into the platform, GT CMS. So here it is. For those who don't know that CMS, this is the landing page. So there you get all the projects you are working on. We'll use for today's demo biology textbook project that we have here. And we'll discover the concept of block templates. A quick explanation of this view for those who don't know it. On the left-hand side, Here we have the table of content with all the pages, the sections, etc. At the center, we do have the page itself with all the contents, all those blocks, and that we can edit easily. And on the right-hand side, we can have this add content panel here, in which we get all the blocks that we can put within the contents to create our textbook, in this case, or a training, or whatever kind of project that we might want to create. By default, what you get here is what we call the basics patterns, the basic blocks. If you want to have a text block here, you can insert it within the page. It will come with a default style, very basic. You can then fill it with the content that you want, etc. And you can choose the style that you might want to use for this block. So here, a simple bordered style that we have. Just to get this block, the bordered block here, I have to find the right pattern I want to insert it, fill it with content, and apply the style I want to apply. So it's a process that I have to make every time I want to insert some content. It's fine, it's working, it's easy to use, easy to understand. But if you get to repeat that step multiple times a day, it's taking quite some clicks to achieve something. So that's why we are introducing this block template concept. That is especially interesting when you want to use compound blocks, such as this one. So this one, there is a box container pattern here with a colored quaternary, in this case, style, in which you get a text with the default style and another text with the outline list style that we can see here. Creating these blocks requires to drag and drop those three patterns to apply the correct style 3 times, etc. So that's a tedious process. And this is a great example here. Learning objectives is something that you will use multiple times in a project, but even multiple times across multiple projects. So what if there was a way to just save this pattern and be able to reuse it whenever you want? And that's what we want to introduce with this feature. To build this feature, to use that feature, so there are specific rights that you need to have to be allowed to create those block templates. Basically, you need to be to have the right to manage the project. Once you have that right here, you can save a pattern that you have built here as a block template. But we don't want to do that right away with this very specific learning objective block that we have here. In this case, it's the content is very specific to that page, the principles of ecology. You may want to have something more generic for that. So we have multiple ways to manage that. You can duplicate this block below and say, okay, we have here objective 1, and then can have oops, sorry. And we have a nice demo effect here. Let's type, instead of paste, objective 2 and objective 3. So maybe you just want to save this like that. So we can save it as a block template here and say, okay, that's section learning objectives. We can save this one within a category. We'll see later what that category is about, how to create them, etc. Let's say that this one is for the chapter opener blocks. category, you save it, and then we'll be able to reuse it. So that's the first way to build this generic learning objective block template. The second way to create those placeholder could be to use AI here. So we can use edit with AI here. We don't want any context to be sure that the AI won't read the whole page and use it. And then we can just say replace with placeholder instructions. Learning objectives. And then we let the AI do its magic, hoping that the instructions are clear enough.
There you go.
Here it is. We just insert the pattern below. So we have our pattern and a new one, and we can then save it here as a block template. Section learning objective with AI. Same category here. We save it. And now we'll see that if we go back in the Add Content panel and we fold the basics, we'll see directly the templates that we can access also just with scrolling here. And so here we have the templates. We have the categories that were available within the dropdown. And I can see that in the chapter opener blocks, I have those two new section learning objective here and section learning objective with AI here that are available. And then those two block templates are available across all projects using the theme that this project is using and can be reused by any authors in any of those other projects. So that's very powerful here. You just build that template, that model here, and it will be reused everywhere. This way, your authors don't have to care to remember about the structure of this learning objective block here. They just have it here available. And they say, oh, I'm starting a new section. I just need to insert this block here on my page. And then that's great, but I need to fill it. So I can just rewrite my objectives here. Or again, for the do the opposite as we did before, edit with AI, provide learning objectives for this page, and I will use the content of the page that is after this block. Then we generate contents. And so here the AI will analyze the contents that is on the page and just keep the structure that we have with that block template. And then we can replace, and no, it's there. We have our learning objectives. So that's just to show that those two features combine very well and are very powerful when they are together. Well, even individually, but together it's even stronger and very easy to use, especially when it's about writing content more than creating the placeholders in a way, and even more powerful, but yes. And so now that we have this, here we can review a bit the different sections that we have. So here we have some opener blocks. Well, we already had, in fact, the learning objectives here that we can maybe just show there and here. So we have an even more detailed way on building those learning objectives to provide instructions to our authors on what content exactly they should be putting here. We have those brackets used for content that they have to replace. This content here is not to be replaced in this example, etc. So there are ways that then that you can use to easily explain to your authors, okay, that's the content that you should be editing. That's what you should be doing here. Or that's how you should be using this specific block template. And that can be done for any block. It can be a complex block, as I just showed, with the learning objective. So it's a combination here of three patterns, the box, this first text, and the second one. It can be just a simple text, as this one. And we have, I think, some other complex examples here. For example, we can just say, okay, let's build a before after comparison box block templates for if we want. So that's really the goal is really to say, okay, we have some somewhat complex structures that we want our author to use and to reuse often. And we don't want them to spend time thinking what structure should I be building? How should I be building it? What pattern did I use last week to build that, etc. So the goal is really to replicate an existing structure. So here we can also do it like that. So it's quite easy. So can be after and before here. Here we want this to be a figure x.x. Here describe the situation before, after, and why it changed. And we can save that one as well here as a block templates. And let's put it in the sidebar and feature blocks. And now it's available on all projects using that theme. Again, we have this before, after, and we know that our authors from now on will have access to this one. So that's the foundational, the core of the feature here. Create blocks and provide them to our authors to be able to reuse them. But there is a bit of management for those block templates that we can do as well, because you may have various types of projects. You may have various subjects that you are working on, and maybe some subjects needs some specific block templates. Before, after might be great in biology, but maybe you have some mathematical textbooks. They might not need the before, after block templates. They might need some specific mathematical block templates. And that's something you can also manage with that block template feature. Let's see how. So for the project manager as well, they will have access to this manage add content button that won't be available for users without the managing rights on the projects. And here they will be able to customize the add content. So customize which categories are available or not. So here, after clicking it, you get the list of all the categories that you have within this within the theme used by this project. Here in this case, maybe we want all those sections to be available because they are generic enough. But if we go to that button here, configure template library, which require a specific right, in this case, to have rights on the theme library module of the platform. So once you clicked on that button, you reach the theme library, the theme editor for this for the theme used by the projects, and you have the configure template library button that gives you access to this view from which you can access before or after having created some block templates. From here, you can reorder the categories. If you reorder the categories, eventually it will affect the order that they are displayed in this add content panel. Just fold that so it's clearer here. You can also reorder the block templates that you created, which will as well change that order here once you will have saved the changes here. And you can, of course, create categories here. Let's create a biology one so we can maybe move our before after pattern there. So let's find an icon here. We can use SVG files. So usually we use Google icons. They have a very large set of icons here and it's working well. But if you have other SVGs that you want to use, it's possible. We can change the name here if we want. And we can here select another category, biology here in this case. We can provide a description that can be used for authors to explain to authors, where and when to use those block templates. It can be used also just to put some words, different names that you could have used for that block template, because it's also used for the search. We'll see that right after. And later we will use the prompt field here to allow edit with AI, also use the course builder to build content out of those block templates. But that will be for later. And then you save. So it's moved out of here into there. Then you save here. And if you go back to the authoring, we'll just reload the page. And here within the templates, now you get biology section here, and you can use it anywhere you want. So that's available. You have the before, after, and everything. That's great. If you hover over this block here, we'll have a tooltip. Here it's comparison, so that's the content of the description we just filled. And here, if I type comparison, I will have this block. So it can be used just as a tag, because maybe there are some block templates that you want to give a generic name, because it might be used in multiple situations. But maybe in biology, you use before after wording. Maybe in history subject, you will say that's a comparison. Maybe you may have other wordings for other use cases. So that's what this description field can also be used for, just to help your authors find the right templates that they should be using. So once you've done that, once you've once you've created all the block templates that you want to use, yeah, as I mentioned, you can use those anywhere in any other projects using this the same theme. So here I have another project using that theme, Biology 101. If I open it and I check, so here I have the block templates. I don't have the biology category because it was created later. So here I can just add it back and it's available. But I don't know, maybe I want to have a biology project here in this biology 101. Maybe I don't want to have the end of chapter blocks because for whatever reason. So you can just remove it, and then you are sure that your authors won't have access to those block templates. It doesn't prevent them from using the basics patterns that we have here and rebuild the blocks that you've hidden, but it will make that work more complex. So we are not preventing them from building such things. We are just giving you a way to pave the way to the structures that they should be using. And the great thing with that is it also means that if you've seen some content in another project that is interesting in your project, the structure might not be available, but you can build it. So we are not preventing anything. It will be a bit more complex than just having that block templates already ready, but it will be just available right away or not. And it doesn't prevent here to say, okay, finally, for whatever reason, in this project, I need to have that specific category available, even if it's just for short term. You can just bring it back, and that's great. One thing that's, if I go back to this previous project here, currently, there is no easy way to do that. We have, well, there is basically no way. So we have the possibility here to copy a block. So we can reuse it in other pages, but only within that same project. So here in my clipboard, I have this version of the learning objectives. But if I open the Biology 101 project, so that's another project, it's using the same theme. So that block that I had in this other project is fully compatible with this Biology 101 project. But it's not available on the clipboard because the clipboard is limited to a specific project. The reason for this is that the clipboard copies a pattern with its content, and most of the time, that is content dedicated to a specific content. And if you are on another project, the topic is most likely is different. So the content is not relevant, or not 100% relevant at least. So that's why the clipboard is limited to a specific project, while the block templates are really a way for you to provide guidance on what to use, where to use it, and what structure you are expecting for your content. If you do use the print output from the GTCMS, it's also a great way to ensure that your authors will respect the structures that you've predefined also on your InDesign files, and to be sure that the content will be sent to InDesign and will be correctly displayed also on the InDesign file. So that's a great step towards that harmonization of contents and towards an harmonized way of reading across all your projects. And lastly, it's not really the block templates, but we also have a new feature set here, which save as templates, but at the project level. So here we've built templates that can be reused across projects. And let's take this Biology 101 as an example. Let's say that we want to make it a more generic project without any biology-specific block templates. We can remove this section from here, and maybe we can provide some specific metadata to it, because it's here built for teachers. And save this, and then we can save this Biology 101 as a template and say, okay, generic teacher edition. We can save this as a template. And then we can go back here. When we want to create a new project, we can start from a template. We can select that generic teacher edition template. Okay, I want to do a math 101 projects, we can create a project out of it. And then, well, in this case, the content is still not the correct one, but we have created a project out of this. So here we have our Math 101 project created based on the template we just created. And if we check the categories available here, we don't have the biology. The metadata for the teacher is available, etc. So everything is preset. The table of contents is the same as the one we saved as a template. As you can see here, it's really not a mathematical topic, but that was just an example. Knowing that at any point, we can go back to that project template and edit it. So we have here the template filter. I can go back here in the generic teacher edition templates and edit it. Say, okay, it's not about ecology, but and it's not even chapter 2, but it's chapter X. And here we have a chapter title. So we can do all of the edition that we want to do to have some placeholder stuff, exactly like the block template. So it's a very not detailed demo of that, but the combination of that project template feature, AI, block templates will really help on speeding up the process of creation of projects, of creation of content within the project, all that while respecting the expected structure of the content, while keeping continuous experience and a common way of building projects for the author and all your projects. So thank you for listening to that, and I think we have a last part for
Excellent.
the webinar.
Okay. All right. We wanted to use the remaining time here to walk through some questions that we hear most often from our customers, and and take a sort of a we learned a lot from our from our demo, but maybe there's an opportunity here to quickly sort of restate and reiterate some of the key points. Um, so we'll do a quick lightning round here in summary. So I wanted to ask, who sets up block templates and how much does it take to get started?
So who sets up the block templates? So it will be users that have the managing rights on a project. So can be the editor, can be some maybe super authors that you give that power to. And how much does it take to get started? The answer is easy. It depends. It depends how many block templates you want, how precise you want that control to be for those templates. If you have a very strict and very structured content with a very strict policy on how to manage that content, especially if you are using the print outputs, you might want to have some very detailed, a very detailed list of block templates. But basically, you already built at least once all of the block templates you want. If you build even just a chapter, you might have most of the block templates that you could be using. Often a chapter is just a structure that you just repeat over and over across a project and eventually across multiple projects. So just saving those blocks, even with the content that they have, even if it's incorrect, it's an example as another. So you can do what I showed, duplicating, using placeholder content, or just keep a sample. I could just have saved one of those biology learning objectives block, and any other author will have understand what that is.
Mm-hmm. So I think there is an initial investment, like there is some time up front, but I think that the point is that it pays off, right? Because it creates the structures that are entirely reusable. And so the time, that you invest up front is more than pays off down the line. And there's
Definitely,
also not a technical or sort of CSS expertise is not needed to do any of this, right? So it's like there's not a technical lift in
definitely
doing in
not.
creating these.
Yes, it can be done without any technical knowledge, and that's the
Mhm.
goal. Previously, we had some very complex ways to manage that. It was very technical, so it wasn't used because the very technical users who would have been able to do that are not the ones who knows what is needed. And
Mhm.
here we want to give that power back to the users who know what they need in their project.
Exactly.
And that's the editor. So that's why we have that. And yes, there is investment, as you are saying, to build that learning objectives block that I showed. It's something around like 10 clicks. So that's quite some clicks. And so with this feature, you just build it once. You add a few additional clicks to save it, put it in the right category, etc. But eventually, for any future insertion of that learning objective block, it's just one click.
One click. Exactly. All right, the next question is about AI, and you spoke to this in your presentation. But how do block templates connect to AI generated content in GT's platform? If we could just sort of restate what we talked about.
Yeah. So first, AI can be used before building the block template to just generate a placeholder contents out of an existing one. Then you save it as a block template. It can be used after creating those because you can insert the block template in the page and then use AI to generate content, assuming that you have some content already within the project or within your knowledge base. And lastly, in the future, it will also be useful because there will be that prompt field that we will provide that will allow at some point the AI to know how to use the block template that you created, when to use it. So at some point, the goal will be for the AI to have access to that list of block templates and to know automatically where to use it, put it themselves, and
Mhm.
fill it with content. So, well, depending on the level of automation that we will include and that you may want, the goal, one idea at least, is to have an AI aware of block templates and be able to play with it.
Mhm. But the AI is already aware to a certain extent. So like what I think is so powerful about what you showed is that the AI is not just creating content into a void. It's you're able to create content into these pre-created structures. So the AI is completely aligned to the block templates. And that's makes the AI or the use of AI really scalable. Rather than sort of creating AI that or AI generated content that needs to be reviewed and restructured and edited down, like it's already working within the constraints created by the block templates.
Yeah.
And I think that's very powerful from a scalability perspective.
Yes, yes. We are not allowing the AI in this specific case, at least, to edit the structure of your block.
Mhm.
So you are always the one that says, okay, that's the structure you need to use to create the content in.
Yep. Okay, the next question is how do we prevent template sprawl? What keeps authors from creating their own blocks? So template sprawl is an interesting term, but we could start by defining what we mean by that.
Yeah, there are specific rights in the platform that gives you the rights or not to create block templates, to manage which block templates appears within the ad content of a specific project, and to manage globally the block template at the sim level, so to order the categories, create categories, delete, etc. And so eventually it's up to you to create the roles that you want, to create the profiles that you want, to give access to the users that should have access to each of those features, to let them manage that without creating tons of block templates, because eventually the risk would be if you create hundreds, thousands of block templates, your authors won't find the right ones. So they will end up by just recreating stuff or picking the wrong one. And the content structure will still be, for some of it at least, structures that you have built, but they might be misused if it's not easy for your authors to find the right ones. So the advice here is to really use as correctly as possible the description field as well, to help the authors find the right block templates and to use it in the correct place. So it's not a part I showed in the demo, but in that description, well, I just showed that the description will be displayed when you will be hovering over the block templates, but you can provide a long text with a detailed description on how to use that block templates. And
Mhm.
if you've created the right ones, and well, authors won't feel the needs of creating other blocks.
Exactly. And then finally, the last question is why use block templates over simply duplicating content? What is the advantage of templated blocks versus just duplicating?
It's really two different features. So main difference, block templates are cross projects. The duplication is, or the copy is really limited to a project. It's also, block templates are cross users. If I create a block template, you can access it. If I copy or duplicate, well, if I copy content, I can reuse it only within the same project, and it's only within my clipboard, not yours. So it's really personal versus collaborative work.
Right. And I think that maybe another way of looking at it is to talk about how block templates are about sort of scalable architecture versus uh, creating sort of scalable copies of content. It really is an architectural solution, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Oh, and that is the last question that we have. Thank you for joining us today. I hope this was an enlightening discussion. We talked a little bit about some of the problems with scalability that we're hearing from our customers. And we presented a solution that we're very excited about. We talked about block templates, how to make them, and how to manage them, both within projects and at the program level. If you have any more questions for us, our contact info is in the deck. We'll be very interested to hear from you and continue the conversation. So thanks for joining us today, and talk to you soon.
Thank you, everyone.